The bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast, taking all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurran. I'm on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is our wine expert, Paul, the judiciary of Jura, Walker. Welcome to the podcast yet again, Paul, week after week after week. We do this.
Don't sound so excited.
Well, I actually am a bit excited this week. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, we had a little break.
We had a little break. What we always like to start off with is this sort of recap of what happened in the last auction. And we always start with the biggest movers. And what I did is I actually put together the biggest movers for the last 2 weeks since
nice.
1 week.
All right. Well, then I can't cheat for 2 weeks ago.
No, you cannot cheat for 2 weeks.
I'm only looking at items from last week. So
you only look at items from last week, but I'm gonna start off, right? Let's start off. And now these are movers from both July 7th, right? The auction that closed July 7th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And then 1 week earlier, the auction that closed. Did it close June 30th?
June 30th, yeah.
June 30th.
I'm setting up my cheat screen now. So yeah,
June 30th, 2024, 7
July 7th.
Time. Don't be cheating, Paul. We're going to play this game. What country did the biggest mover come from? Jeopardy music.
Oh, Jeopardy music.
Well, I actually can't.
I'm just going to say France just because there always seem to be these constant kind of,
And it is an American wine.
Really?
That had a meteoric rise. One that I think you'll be actually quite surprised at.
Is it Northwest?
It is Napa.
Napa. Is it a red wine?
Yes.
Is it voluptuous and, delicious and complex and amazing?
Yes. Most likely.
Most likely. Oh, you haven't had it.
I haven't had this specific one.
Okay. Is it old? Is it new? Is it young?
04.
Okay. So 20 years old. It's a Cabernet based wine, sort of like Bordeaux variety style, or is it?
It is a cab. It is a cab.
Okay. 04 Cabernet. And it was the biggest mover in the last 2 weeks combined? Increased
170%, 170.91% in value.
Was it in the auction, is it rare? So it wasn't in for a long time, or?
I don't know how long it was in. I will say this one sold on 6:30, and it only had 3 bids to get up 171%.
Really? Okay, so there was a battle over this thing.
Yeah, a little bit of a battle.
Gosh.
I don't think you're ever going to guess this. I was shocked. Maryvale. Maryvale, Rutherford, Beckstoffer Vineyard, Clone 6, Cabernet Sauvignon. Started at $55, hammered at $149. 2 of them.
Wow. That's interesting. 2 bottles also. So they both went super, super high. So whoever wanted it wanted both of them. There is sort of a famous cult, if you will, wine that Maryvale released, but it was from before this. It was like Proto Harlan, it was from, I think, a vineyard that Harlan then turned into their, state vineyard. At least that's how the story goes. Can't confirm this. I'm not an expert, even though Jeff Colley's one. But anyway, it when it does hit the auction, it goes crazy. So this is really interesting because obviously this is up in Rutherford, and maybe it's a super duper limited production wine. Although we've sold a few bottles in the past, it hasn't. It's definitely been an auction before.
We sold one in 2023 for $60.
You're right, and we sold the 03 for $55 back in last year too. So that's that's a mystery. That's one of those why we have these examples where it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
It makes sense to somebody. Number two had 130% increase. This one, neither U.S., neither American wine, nor French wine, nor an Italian wine.
Italian, okay.
No, not Italian. Not Italian.
No, not Italian. Okay.
This one comes from New Zealand, actually. 2011 Ripon Vineyard Riesling started at $20, jumped up to 46. I can't say that I'm super surprised. I actually have had some New Zealand Riesling, and I actually really enjoyed it.
I've had this actual wine. It's very, very good, but it's curious that, good luck ever finding this again, right? Like 2011, New Zealand. I mean, maybe if you went to the winery, maybe they'd have some back vintages of it, but that would be a very, very difficult bottle to replace, regardless of your funds,
Regardless of, yeah. I mean, it's just super interesting. And
yeah, I would imagine most of it gets drunk, within year or two of release. So
I would guess most of it gets consumed in New Zealand, but
right.
like not even outside of New Zealand.
There's only 3 vintages in the system, and we've only sold one other before. So yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Number 3 was a 99 Baron de la Charrière Clos.
Oh yeah, I did see this. Is this Clos Saint-Denis?
Yeah, Clos Saint-Denis started at 55, hammered at 113.
I mean,
105% increase.
$55 is a comically low reserve price for Clos Saint-Denis from any vintage.
Particularly 99.
Yeah, exactly. 99 was a pretty phenomenally great vintage. That's an interesting one. I don't know much about Baron de la Charrière. Well, I don't know anything about it for that matter, but I'd be curious. Somebody does probably. They probably know, it's a good, they have a good source or a good portion of Clos Saint-Denis, or they did, or they got some from somebody who knew what they were doing. You never know with these rare Burgundies. It's tough to track down.
You never know. Number 4, 82.2% increase on this 01 Allianz Quinta de Terugem. 3 bids took it from $15 to $27. There were 3 of them. So not a super expensive wine, but definitely a lot of interest in it. And then number 5 was this 01 Sloan proprietary red. 3 bids took it from $205 to $360 for a 75.61% increase.
That's an interesting one too, because we've sold this wine quite a few times, but the 02, if memory serves, was the wine that was the big deal, because I think it got like double 100-point scores. And I'm curious as to what because the 02 was just an auction. So that seems like a high number for the 01, especially when it was just in June.
There were 2 lots in June that all sold for
205.
4 bottles sold for 205.
Yeah.
Then it was in May 3 times, selling for 215.
215, yeah. So that's another one like the Maryvale that doesn't really make any sense, because who knows? Yeah, and the 02 hammered for 345. And what did you say this hammer was? 360? Yeah, that's a mystery.
Here's what's interesting. If you go back to 2021, this bottle actually for a few months got up to 385. Yeah, from about January of 20, end of January 21, all the way through May, it was at 385. And then it had sort of, since then, it's been on this slow downward slope till it hit 205 last month. So last month, if you had purchased 10,000 cases of the 01 Sloan proprietary red in just 1 month, you could have increased.
It'd be a good return, but
yeah, a good return.
Jeff is our resident wine investment expert and has so much useful information in retrospective wine investments.
Yes, so retrospective investment.
Very helpful for everybody.
Exactly. Number 6 was this 18 Sylvain Patiale. Patai Marseille.
Yeah, these wines have consistently gotten bid up. I think there's a real rarity, cult following for Sylvain Patai wines. And but the funny thing is, they actually do hit the auction fairly regularly. It's not, impossible to find, but I think was this the 2018 you're talking about?
Yeah, this is the 18, started at 55, 10 bids, took 5 of them to $93.60.
Yeah. What's interesting is, the 14 was actually just in and hammered at 120. So, there is still quite a wide variation in price range here for these wines. They're all consistently it's funny because it's like, these are all fun to me because they have no bearing on what kind of scores they get. Nobody really cares. It's like the people that really care about the producer and the vineyard don't really care about critics' ratings for wines like this, because they're not hugely scored wines, but they do very, very well.
They're also like generally super low production.
Right.
So
right. There's not a lot out there, but they do hit WineBid fairly regularly, I would say, at least a few times a year for at least one or two vintages. So anyway.
Next one up, I thought this one was really interesting. Another one, lower value, O2 Domaine La Branche La Font. Madurian.
Oh, it's Madiran. It's Madiran. What's the producer's name?
Domaine La Branche. La Branche. La Font.
La Branche La Font. Okay,
Branche,
yeah. Sorry, so it was a good deal, right? At $15.
15, but it got 5 bids, took it up to 25.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, 15 would have been a killer deal for that bottle. 02, 22 years
again, too, right? This is like more impossible to find than, some like rare Burgundy, right? Like good luck ever finding something like this.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're not grabbing that at Costco or Total Wine. That one.
Well, not even at WineBid for that matter.
Not even a WineBid.
Only sold it once.
We've sold it once, and
one vintage in the system we've sold. Or no, excuse me. There's an 05 in the system, but we've only sold the old 2 one time.
2015 François Rosset Martin Côte de Jura Vin Bleuet de Bacchus Clos Bacchus.
Okay, let's revise or let's review here. François Rousset Martin Côte de Jura Vin Bleu de Bacchus.
That is exactly what I said. And exactly
Blue Vein of Bacchus. Okay.
Yes, this one 8 bids took it from 50 to 82 for a 64% increase in price.
Yeah, these Jura wines, these low production Jura wines, looks like imported by Kermit Lynch. If I can barely read the side of the label. Unfortunately, there's no back label photo, but anyway, it's got to be, limited allocations, probably really hard to find, in the US if we get any. I mean, obviously it comes into Berkeley, but I doubt that there's much of it in circulation. So
most likely
I guess it's Sauvignon. Okay. All right. I was curious. These are always very interesting to me because I'm not familiar with them. So
this next one I thought was really cool. The 64 La Rioja Alta Reserva 904, 4 bids are from 285 to 465 for that's increase. That's
pretty serious. I mean, this is obviously very collectible Rioja to begin with, but again, unlike that $15 Madiran, we have sold it before several times. It's not exceedingly rare, but let's see. Last time it was in auction was last year, hammered at 285. So that's a significant increase.
Yeah. Huge. I mean, that's 63% up to 465, almost hitting that $500 mark. That's pretty significant. I'll do one more and then we'll move on.
You do one more and then I'm going to mention a couple records if you don't mind.
Yeah. 19 Aperture Nomad went from 5 bids, took from 80 to 130 for a 62.5% increase.
Aperture Nomad?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one because I've definitely seen, the Aperture Red blend. I forget. I think it's just Aperture Rouge or Red or something, but that must be a rare one. 97 points from Advocate too. So it might have something to do with it, but
most likely.
Cool.
Anyway, what were some records that?
Really impressive was 97 Marcus and the Estate Chardonnay hammered at 425, which is just kind of wild. I mean, that's a very mature example, but we do see Pinot Noir and Chardonnay from the 90s on occasion, and so that's a high hammer for those. But for that wine, there was only one bottle, I believe. 1925 Marqués de Riscal Rioja Reserva hammered at 450. That's a rare one too. 68 Mayacamas Late Harvest Zinfandel. I actually picked this wine because I think it was around $150 or something, but got bid up to 460. So that's a pretty serious number for late harvest Zinfandel way up on the mountains there. Let's see. Yeah, that Pattaya and the Aperture you mentioned are also records for us. There's some Alamon that hammered at 400 for the 2012, the Renard. Let's see, 2021, Domaine Leflaive, Pouligny and Pucelle hammered at 525. So those are still going for quite a bit. 14, Domaine Duchec, Von Romany Malkinsor at 490. So prices keeping high with that producer as they have been very consistently. 2010, AF Gros Richebourg is actually one of my picks as well. Yeah. Got bid up to 750, a pretty serious number. We had mentioned there was a Von Romany Reyes that got bid up quite a bit, I think the week before. And so, these wines with 15 years on them from AF Gros have been very, very popular. 1925 Clément was in last week, hammered at 460 for a half bottle, which is quite impressive. Again, though, that's very, very rare stuff. 1925 doesn't even strike me as one of the world's most collectible Sauternes vintages, but in any event, rare example there. And 61 Figeac at 665, which was highest hammer I think we've seen, and I believe besting other external auction houses as well. So those were some fun records last week.
And this auction is the auction that will be ending on July 14th, correct? 2024 at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So
7 p.m. Pacific, right?
Yeah, anything that we mention right now, you'll be able, up until July 14th, 2024, 7 p.m. Pacific time, you'll be able to go and bid on, right? Mm-hmm. And let me say, a lot of stuff just does not get bids. So, keep that in mind, that if you're thinking like, hey, I'm never going to be able to get something, there's a lot of stuff you absolutely can get. I picked up stuff at reserve. Most of the stuff I pick up, when I bid, I pick up on reserve. And when we say reserve, that means the starting price. Okay, so it's what you see as starting price.
Right. The price that's displayed currently is the price you would win that particular wine, assuming you don't get outbid.
I know Paul normally likes to start with Burgundy, but I would like us to start with Bordeaux today because it's very rare that we start with Bordeaux. There's just like a ton of really interesting stuff in Bordeaux. I think you can go pretty fast. But I
exactly. I mean, what I did, just not to cut you off, but I will anyway, is that I just started picking larger formats because there were 750 milliliters of most of these wines in auction as well. And I thought it was really interesting. The other thing I wanted to say before Jeff goes into naming producer after producer is that I feel like this is yet again another great example of the 19 vintage quantities of the 19 vintage.
I was just going to say that.
Where you can find like prices lower than futures in many cases and fantastic vintage. It just seems like it's pertinent to mention that this is like a value vintage Bordeaux that's in this week in great selection and quantity.
I was literally just going to say that. I picked out so many 19s, like my head was spinning. There were so many really good 19s. They're still such a tremendous deal. To your point, there's a ton of great large format. I will add one other thing. There is a ton of great Bordeaux Blanc from story producers. So there's like 2020 Coste d'Estournel Blanc for 135, right?
That's we don't see very often. I feel like we see the Petit Cheval white more than we see white.
We see the Petit Cheval a lot more. We also had the Petit Cheval, the 18 for 170, the 19 for 165. So we have both of those. We have the one that I thought was interesting is the 17 Château Mouton Rothschild Aile d'Argent for
Aile d'Argent, okay.
11 of them for 110. That was actually one of the cheapest Bordeaux Blancs that we had this.
Yeah, it's considerably less than the
cost.
The cost, which is kind of interesting. Petit Cheval. Yeah, it is. And there's, what else is a lot more? And it's the second label is Pavillon Blanc from Margaux is 180.
Yes, Pavillon Blanc was more. This was less, but like 18 Smith Oliphant Blanc was 100. So for $10 more, you can get the Mouton Blanc.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these wines, I think the Aile d'Argent from Mouton is kind of a different category, I have to say, than some of the more historically sort of collectible white Bordeaux. I don't want to, start some kind of a battle, but
don't
Domaine de Cheval. I can
talking bad about my
for the money.
Okay.
For the money, though, like Domaine de Chevalier Blanc then we've got the 15 and the 20. I think it's a great deal. They're $85 for the reserve. There's multiple bottles. Cost Blanc 2020 for 135 does it. It just seems like high. A lot next to Eye d'Argent and the Y, right? There's Magnums.
There's a bunch of Y. There's a bunch of Y, and then there's actually a large format Y.
Yeah, 330 for the 2020.
For the 2020, and then hold on. There's also 18 Pape Clement Blanc for 125. So the Pape Clement Blanc is even more than the Aile d'Argent.
The Mouton, yeah, interesting.
It was just like Bordeaux Blanc. There was tons of Bordeaux Blanc at auction, which I thought was, I mean, look, you talk about 19 Mouton 525, 19 Lynch Bage 140. We have 30 of the 19 Lynch Bage for 140, right? 19 Leo Velasquez 180, 19 Montrose 165, 19 Ducru 175, and almost all of them, there's like at least half a case. 19 Angelus 270, 19 Clinet 105, 19 La Constante 180, 19 Figeac 175, 19 Vieux Chateau Sauton 245.
Figeac kind of represented heavily this week. And it's always a wine I feel like has gotten this sort of, hard to find culty status almost. And there's 15, 16, 19, and there's a mag of the 19 too at 350, which I think is a good deal. And there's 2020. There's a case of the 2020. So the other thing I was going to mention is there's a lot of 2020s as well, and the prices are a little bit more than 19. It seems like in most cases, but not all.
The other thing I noticed was we've got 4 mags of 16 Mouton, and they have 2 of them have bids on them, taking them to 1340. The other 2, I believe, they're at 1260.
No, they're not actually. They're at 1440 now.
They're 14. Okay, then this is. See, I looked earlier in the day. There's a mag of the 15 Latour for 1080, which I didn't think was crazy for a mag of Latour. There's I thought this was kind of cool. The 96 Leo Velasquez for 235. There are 8 of them. Yeah,
that was an interesting one actually, because there are very few mid 90s. Bordeaux from classic producers, but Leo Velasquez is well represented. But then, hey, the 19 is $180. So,
I mean,
buy those. I mean, you have to, they're not obviously going to drink, like the 96 at this point, but still, so many great deals. And Lafite, 19 Lafite is $595, and that's got to be that was the low end for.
I believe that was the release price, actually.
Yeah, and Aubryon is $415. It's kind of amazing how good of deals these are.
These things are great deals. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the 59 Decam for $13.95 there.
Yeah, that is truly one of the most amazing wines in the world. It's kind of like up there with like top 10 all-time greatest wines I've ever had. But anyway, there's 2 bottles at $13.95.
3 bottles.
Oh, there's another lot? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many lots to choose from.
So many lots to choose from. 2010 Pichon Lalonde for 170. There are 6 of those. I thought that was an interesting buy.
Yeah. 82 popped up again this week.
Yes.
Multiple lots of that, or 2 lots, I think. Really, really good shape. 575 for one lot anyway.
One that I thought was a good deal. We have 6 of them. This 18 Le Marquis de Calin Segur, which is the second label of Calin Segur, correct? So those they all have bids actually taking them to 31. When I had checked, I didn't think that was a crazy price. I thought it was pretty.
They were $30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
Wow. I mean, exactly. I actually think the last time I saw them in auction, I picked up like 4 or 5 of them because I was like, $30? Right. I was like, this is nuts. 2000 Gerard Larose, 6 of those for 140, and we've got the one for 90.
I noticed that there was 2000 and recently that got kind of swept up quickly, and I think the price is starting to creep up for that because it's been such a smoking deal. So not surprised there that the price has gone up a little bit, but still reasonable.
We should probably stop talking about it so much. be able to afford it ever again. 2000 Lafleur Petrus mag for 480. There are three of them. And then we've got the 2020 mag for 340.
Yeah, that I thought was a great deal. I mean, it's probably not in the same realm as the 2000, of course, but still, it's not a bad price for a mag of Lafleur Petrus.
That was all I had. Like I got through those fast.
No, yeah, you did. And you mentioned pretty much everything. I think I was kind of amazed to see the 2020 Trolong Mondo was $85 and there's 27 bottles of it. So good chance of scoring that, at reserve. Palmer, there's a historical 19th century wine, lot 20.16. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but interesting, maybe blended wine from Palmer. Anyway, there's three bottles of that at 180. That kind of stuck out to me as something we don't see very often. L'Arcy Ducasse 2020, I thought was a great deal at 65. And then La Mandat 2020 at 90. I believe this is the only La Mandat I've seen recently that's under $100. Let's see. Anything else I wanted to mention? No, that's pretty much it. I mean, just a really nice arrangement of Bordeaux. Oh yeah, Fétis Cliné is another kind of, lesser well-known, but I've seen some press on it recently. Anyway, there's the 16 Fétis Cliné and 6 of them for 65. So I also thought was quite reasonable. So lots of things in this week.
Let's head over to Burgundy.
Sorry, there's a bunch of Vieux Chateau Certain also, like 1519 and mag of 19 as well at 490, which I thought was a great deal. And the 2020. So yeah, Burgundy. Can I start by saying 00 wines, the Corton Charlemagne's back.
Yeah. You stole the words right out of my mouth. They got in the Clos de la Roche.
The Clos de la Roche, which is astoundingly, $600 less?
Well, not so much, because last time I checked this morning, it had 3 bids on it.
Okay, so it's getting... Okay.
So that Clos de la Roche is getting some action. Those, all
right, $560 less.
There's a ton of Masson Loire wines.
There is, yeah,
that have come into auction this week. The one I saw that I thought was interesting was the Côte de Beaune Village for $215. I thought, from 2010. I thought that might be interesting.
Sure,
not too expensive. Some interesting examples of Corton Charlemagne. I just picked out the 19 Drouhin Corton Charlemagne for $165. There are 6 of those.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad, actually.
No. I mean, and I think there's a bunch of other Corton Charlemagne that you can get at a pretty reasonable price, right around that, maybe a little bit above $100 mark. 15, Georges Roumier, Maurice Saint-Denis, Claude de la Bussière, 4 of those for $380. And then the 2020 Henri Boileau Pouligny Montrachet, Claude de la Mouche for 2. Actually, there are 6 of them, but at least one of them has a bid on it. So that's at $240. The 2010 Ponceau Claude de la Rocheville mag for $880. I thought that was kind of cool to see a mag of that. Some really cool Francois Ravenot that has come to auction. The Blanchot, the Buteau, the Forêt, the Leclos, the Monty des Tonnerres, Montmain, Valion, Valmour. I mean, just the Petit Chablis, a mag of the Petit Chablis for $440. So if you're a Francois Ravenot fan, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we don't usually see this much Francois Ravenot coming into auction. At least this.
No, and all the same vintage too, all from 2020.
All from great vintage. fantastic vintage. Some really interesting examples of Vincent Dovessat, La Forest, 19, 20, 21, 19 and 21 of the Les Pousses as well. So just actually some really cool Chablis this week.
There's Pat Lou in there also, which seems to get a real following. There again, I mentioned this Daniel Etienne de Fay because it always seems to get grabbed up. It's also not expensive. There's 6 bottles of the 2010 Vaillant for $40 a piece. That'll probably get grabbed. But yeah, you're right. There's Demour, which is not terribly expensive either. 12, whatever Bel Air at Clardy is. It's a village Chablis, but anyway. And then Coteau de Rosette 2010. So yeah, a lot of cool Chablis.
A lot of really cool Chablis this week. I noticed there was 14 Domaine de las Lambres, Claude Lambres for 6 of those at 230. The 14 Jean-Claude Ramonet, Chassagne Montrachet, Le Rochot for 365. And then there's some stuff in from Evening Lands. 2011 Evening Lands, Gevrey Chambertin, Premier Cru for $75. I thought that looked like it was interesting. I think there was one other in from Evening Lands as well.
Yeah, I saw those too. Yeah.
Just some really, really interesting stuff there. The only other two that I had was this 18 J.A. Ferret Pouilly Fusé Cuvée Spéciale Tête de Cru. 6 of them, 2 bids have already taken them from 35 to 30.
Yeah, that stuff is great. It's still a great deal, I think, in Burgundy, and it seems to come in fairly often. So, probably I would imagine they'll hammer it somewhere in the 40, 45 range, but still that's a good deal for a delicious white wine from Burgundy. But
absolutely. And the only other one I'll mention is the 21 Simone Colline Chassagne Montrachet Les Chamais for $75. There were 6 of those.
Simone, who was it again? Simon Collin. Okay.
Collin.
Yeah, there's Philippe Collin Chevalier in this week too, which didn't seem too expensive. 17 at 325, 18 at 320, and 19 at 310. But yeah, there's again some really nice Collin Moret, including Corton Charlemagne. You mentioned there's multiple examples of Corton Charlemagne, as well as, or I should say, including Romanée Conti. I think there's a couple lots of it actually, the 2020. But that is the only Corton Charlemagne I think that's more than the 00 wines.
Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention a couple others like Alvina Pernod, really, really amazing wines and not crazy expensive. $350 for the Bienvenue Betard and $250 for the Corton Charlemagne. Again, another Corton Charlemagne from a great producer. And Boisson Meursault sous la Belle, 3 of those of the 19 for $75. I didn't think was very expensive. I thought that was a great deal. There's also 15 Roumier Bonne-Mar, if you want to get real serious. There's Croc Parentu from Camazé, both 15.
I saw that. Croc Parentu, woo!
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Not cheap.
18, I think it's the only Rouleau new this week is the Montelly, a red wine for $60, which is going to be less than anything from Meursault. Sauzet Montrachet 17 came in at $905. I don't know, between the Sauzet Montrachet and the 00 Corton Charlemagne, I'd probably pick the Sauzet Montrachet, but that's just me. I haven't tasted the 00, so I can't speak for that. But anyway,
we have had some of their U.S. wine,
Yeah, we had one of the Chardonnays, and I think it was the VGW Chardonnay from. It was very, very good. It was like $70. It wasn't $900. So
yeah, I mean that Corton Charlemagne from Zuzza better be like 15 times better than what we drank.
And then speaking of actually expensive, again, white wines, but in this case, I thought there were lots of interesting selections and price ranges. You mentioned one of the Ramonets, but there's a whole bunch. There's Macon, a full case, actually, individual bottles. You can get one or all of them if you want, for currently $55. And then there's Pernon Vergelès, Les Belfi, I guess it's Blanc. Sorry, my thing's cut off. Yeah, Belfi Blanc at $80. So, Ramonet, amazing producer. The Grand Crus are obviously insanely expensive, 500, plus. But there's, Chassagnes, there's Macon, like I said, Pernon Vergelès, and there's Pouligny-en-Seigneur, which is significantly less, say, than like Pouligny-en-Seigneur from Cocherie or something. $250 for the 16 Ramonet-en-Seigneur and $180 for the 2020. So, and Saint-Aubin's actually, frankly, that are less than Collin Moret Saint-Aubin. So lots of really cool choices from Ramonet this week. It's always just great to see that. They're just amazing wines. And all kinds of cool Chablis. And I mentioned the Philippe Collin Chevalier kind of mini vertical there. There's also some Robert Ampeau Meursault, which I'm very curious about because I don't know these wines very, very well at all. And they're they're over 20 years old each. There's Merceau Perrier for 125, 6 each, and then Merceau Pièce sur le Bois for 110. So yeah, just a really, really awesome selection of Burgundy.
Let's jump over really quickly to Alsace. We've got a few bottles coming from Alsace. I thought this bottle of 2000 Marcel Dice Riesling Schönenberg for 105 was interesting. And then you have some stuff that's a lot more affordable. 2022 Chaffet Riesling, Rhone, Clos Saint Theobald, and then 2022 Riesling, Chaffet Riesling Sommerberg for 35. So some stuff, and then some Albert Mann Riesling, some Emile Bayer, some Domaine Hurst Riesling Bolin for 25. So some really interesting deals on the Alsace side. Let's jump back over to Burgundy and talk about Beaujolais, because technically it isn't Burgundy. One thing that caught my eye was this 18 mag of Foillard Morgon Côte de Puy for 115. Here's what's interesting. The 750 is 80. So the mag is actually quite
strange.
Is quite a savings, actually.
That's bizarre.
That is bizarre. I thought that was really cool. Like the great bottle. And then you have this 11 Marcel Lapierre Morgon mag for 150 after one bid, taking it from 140 to 150. Although, I look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, the the Foillard Morgon versus the Marcel Lapierre Morgon. Interesting to see sort of that pricing difference on the mag side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's also one of those things where I was thinking about these Foillard wines because they're very collectible, and Côte de Puy is actually, is a very big deal, but they do need a lot of time. And so when we do see the older ones come in, they're significantly more expensive because, they're obviously ready to drink, whereas you really do need to lay down the younger wines, and especially a Magnum, a good, 15, 20 years. So that's the thing with those. They are kind of like some of these young Bordeaux we talk about, where they really do need a lot of time.
How do you explain the price differential, though, between the 2011 Lapierre is 150 and then the 2012 Lapierre is 95? Because it's not like, I think I looked, it's like a 1 point difference in score, right? It wasn't like the 11 was posting trip 100s or something like that, or even.
Yeah, it could just be, kind of like the collector's general mindset and considering 11 just being a superior vintage. So it's one of those things where the value is not tied to scores like it can be for a lot of domestic wines
for sure.
Or something.
13 Lapierre Morgon 3 liter for 240.
Yeah, I saw that. That's very cool.
That's very cool. 11 Clos de Roilette. Fleury Cuvée Tardive. 2 bids is taken from 30 to 33. I thought that one looked interesting.
Yeah, these are still really good deals. That Cuvée Tardive, it's not expensive. The 11's 33, 12, the 15's 35. So yeah, those are great deals.
Not bad. 19 Chateau Tavine Côte de Brulé. 1 bid takes from 25 to 26. I thought that was a pretty good deal there as well.
There's also the Foillard Cuvée 3.14, the high Cuvée.
I saw that.
But again, it's 17. It needs some time. Oh, the other thing there's Dutrève 18, the Lieu de Champagne, the Cuvée Champagne or whatever, which I think is a steal. It's got a bid at 36 right now. It's really good. You know what? I had that cuvée. Yeah, that's awesome.
That one looks super interesting.
Yeah, it's great stuff. It's really, really good.
Let's go ahead and head over to Champagne. There was one that I had in here that I totally messed it up. And I put the wrong thing in. So I'm looking it up right now as we talk. But basically, I was looking, wait, does it have bids? Oh, it has bids. It was lower. The 2020 Aile Ore, Coteau de Champenois.
Oh, it's still though, isn't it? Still red wine?
Rouge.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Albanais Rouge. Yeah, there is no photo yet.
I'm pretty sure that's still red. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting to see.
I thought that was interesting. And then the other one that I thought was interesting was this, the mag of 13, Philippona Clos de Gossois.
Oh, Clos de Gauisse. Yeah.
Clos de Gauisse, sorry.
Yeah, I saw that. Those always tempt me so much. The wine's so darn good. So it's like,
Well, you can get the 750 for 200, but I'll bet you that Mag is just screaming delicious.
Yeah.
Lay down for quite a while. What did I miss on the in the champagne world?
Yeah, no, Clos de Gauisse definitely caught my eye. I still think it's crazy reasonable. 13 should be just phenomenal. So yeah, $400 for the Mag is just awesome.
When you compare it to like the Salon Le Mesnil.
Right. I mean, Salon, it's
for
always pays mentioning when Salon comes in the auction because it does come in often and it's extremely collectible, but it's just, it's like, I want to say 700 and up for anything in recent years. So, it's all pushing four figures, just kind of crazy, but the 13 should be amazing. Yeah. 895 and 900 for those 12 and 13 respectively. There's 08 Grand Dame at 165. I didn't think that was too bad.
I saw that. Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah, 85 Dom Perignon for 65. And then these Michel Turgy Reserve Selection, I thought those were decent at $45. And then the super, super small production from Krug, the Clos d'Ambonay, is in the 2000 vintage for $2,380. So a little bit more than $1 a year for that. And then 88 Krug in a cardboard box for $670. So yeah, very, very kind of highfalutin champagne selection this week. But yeah, and the Aile Ourier is Pinot Noir. It's still Pinot Noir, but it's kind of cool to find. You don't see too many of those. So.
Yes,
it's from Champagne, so we're not always talking about sparkling wine from Champagne. That Aile Ourier is a really nice Coteau Champenois example. I want
to take us over to Jura. Because there's actually some really.
I can't wait to see what happens with our favorite darling.
I was just gonna say to the land of like 6+ bids, where like first of all there's a Mag of Ganevat,
right,
and Marguerite,
right. I want to what we should do as competition is to see who can guess which of these lots gets the most bids. Because they're all The curious thing is like the Vigne Mon Père obviously is kind of an unfair because that's the super sought after, like the super small production top end wine. And it's obviously a lot more than the Grand Tep and the Chalasse Vieille Vigne. So I don't know, but the Magnum, you're right. The Chardonnay Magnum, that thing could get bid up.
So far, none of them have any bids. I just have this feeling like we know that Ganevat is incredibly low production. How many Magnums do you think Ganevat makes? If any?
Yeah, that is true. Now, okay, here's another one we could do. We could say at the end of the week, will the Auvergnat hammer for more than the Ganevat, or will the Ganevat take the lead? With let's say the Vigne Mon Père, because these Auvergnat wines are so. Sort of, they've already been kind of exploded, like the hype has gotten so high for so many years now that like they've reached this like 500 plus, sort of range. Well, and so I don't know.
I mean, look, let's just say this right now between the Auvergnat and the Ganevat, the only one that has bids is the 14 Arbois Pupiline Chardonnay white capsule, right? It's got 2 bids taking it to 560.
Right.
That being said, when it comes to overall bids, I don't know. I have this feeling at 220, that Mag is going to look awfully attractive, right?
Yeah,
you're talking
I think you're right.
110 to 750, and then, like I said, how often do we see Mags of Ganevat?
That is true. So I don't know. I'm also kind of really interested in finding more examples like the one that you and I had back in April, because the wine was just phenomenally good.
So good.
Not at all funky or sort of out of balance or anything, that may upset those that are not into natural wines. Let's just say it was extremely well balanced and delicious and complex and exotic. So anyway, yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think, like I said, I don't think that Auvergnat white capsule is going to get pushed up much more than it is, but I've been wrong so many times, so who knows?
I mean, I feel bad for like Chateau Chalon right? Like, they're being completely overshadowed. Well, any other week, and we would definitely spend a good 5 minutes on Chalon, I would think. But this week it's Overnoy and Ganivat. My gut tells me that mag is going to go up because I think it just seems like a decent deal. That being said,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
already you've seen, two bids on that 14 Overnoy and taking it from 450 to 560.
It's going to get some more action, I think, before the close.
It will 100% get some more action before the close. So
Yeah.
I think that one probably is going to be the lead horse in the Overnoy. But hey, but then again, maybe the sort of rarity and strength of the Vins de Mon Père will drive that up a bit.
That's what I'm wondering. If that is going to look more interesting in the end of the week than say the Overnoy. But I don't know. So it'll be fun to watch.
It'll be fun to watch.
Needless to say, we'll be mentioning some of these wines next week.
100%. I'll mention two things in the Languedoc-Roussillon. 08, Domaine du Clos des Fils.
Oh, the Clos de Fay. Yeah, that's cool that all these popped in this week. There's like a whole batch of them because we don't see them very often. So,
and then did you see the Hervé Biswell, Le Petit Sibéry?
No, I didn't see that.
160 in the Languedoc-Roussillon. I thought that.
No, I did. Wait, I don't think I've ever had these wines before. But
I thought that looked interesting at 160. I want to jump to the Loire now because, oh my God, like talk about a bunch of Clos Rougeard.
Yeah, Clos Rougeard is like taking center stage this week. So magnums of everything
everything.
The Rouge, the Bourg, and the Pouilleux. So, yeah.
A ton of Blanc Brisé from 09, 11, 14, 16. And then, like you said, all those bags. Like, I don't think we've ever seen as much of this Rougeard at auction before. Like,
no.
Like you rarely get this much of it coming into auction. Certainly the large format. It's just not super common to see this stuff in large format.
Not at all. No.
So I thought that was interesting. I thought also interesting. Did you see all these old Olga Raffol?
No, for sure. 79 and 85 and 89. Yeah, it looked like they were getting a little bit of action, I think.
The 79, when I looked at it, had some action. I looked at the tasting notes, and the tasting notes were saying that, like, hey, this is actually pretty good, right in the streaming window. So, 79 is at 170 now. The 85 is at 145. 89 is at 120. And then, actually, some interesting Muscadet. I picked out this 12 Domaine de la Péprier Muscadet 3-liter for 120. I thought that was kind of a nice summer party bottle.
There's a bunch of Péprier Max, like this Cuvée 4, Cuvée 4, whatever, $80 for that. I thought was a good deal for the 2010 because they need time. Those wines are not, they're actually pretty interesting and complex over several years. So that's a lot of fun things, interesting wines to try with some time on them, and they're not expensive. So, yeah.
And then I'm going to jump over to the Rhone really quickly. I picked a few Blancs, or a couple Blancs anyway. This 2020 Jean-Louis Chauve Hermitage Blanc for 200. We got 6 of those. And then this 2020 Domaine de Vue Telegraphe Châteauneuf du Pape Blanc. We have 12 of those at 60. I don't know. The summer's like, we're in the thick of the summer, and white wine is on my mind. So I'm looking for something refreshing. If you want to go something non-Blanc, 15 Jaboulet Année Crozes Hermitage Domaine de Talabert mag for $80. I didn't think that was crazy. 17 Domaine de la Jeunesse Châteauneuf du Pape Cuvée Chopin for $60, and this 19 Clos Saint-Jean Châteauneuf du Pape Deus Ex Machina for $95. And we got a mag for $190, so or at a 3-liter for $380.
Yeah, there's like a serious selection of Châteauneuf in this week. Like, very well respected producers. There's some multiple vintages of Hommage Jacques Perrin from Beaucastel. Also the Coudelet de Beaucastel, which don't see very often. It's kind of fun to see. It's 09 at $30. I mean, it's not, the Châteauneuf, but it's an interesting wine from them. It's kind of respected in its own right. The Cuvée Papet from a lot about Olivet, and yeah, Deus Ex Machina Sanctus Sanctorum Magnums from Clos Saint-Jean, Marcoux Old Vines. There's Pagao Cuvée de Capo 2020. Yeah, just a really nice array of serious Chateauneuf, I thought, this week for sure. There's some Cornas from Allemande and Domaine de Tunel, Vincent Paris. So yeah, lots of serious Rhone wines.
Lots of really, I mean, honestly, there were lots of cool wines across France. I feel like we're getting to the end of our time here. I wish we had more time to walk through the US. I'm guessing we don't have enough. But here's the good news. Everything that we picked is going to be online on our blog. So you can still go on and see all of our picks. So if you didn't, if you're like, hey, what were they saying? Which one was that? If you've got to just go take a look at our picks. They're all online. There is a ton of awesome stuff from the US. A few inexpensive Montebellos coming to auction. A metric ton of Aubert, I feel like.
A lot of Aubert.
Some cool large format, older Dunhill Mountain stuff coming to auction. Some coupe, a bunch more. There's just some really cool, interesting stuff across the board, in the US. And by the way, some interesting stuff from Idaho, Texas. Some great stuff from Oregon and Washington as well. Walter Scott, Ken Wright. So a bunch of the 0-0 wines.
Yeah.
US as well.
A lot of them. The Pinot Noir seemed to be it's getting bids, I noticed, but I still think it's still under $80 for that 0-0 Pinot. Well, there's multiple examples, but yeah. The other thing I quickly want to mention too, sorry, I know
go ahead.
We're closing, but yeah, there's a couple of mags of Heights Martha's. The 74 is back in this week as well.
Yep.
There's Kinsman Eads white wines, which you don't see very often. There's Liquid Farm Chardonnay, which is amazing and not expensive. Massican Magnum. There's Racine's Pinot Noir. There's the famous Stag's Leap Wine Cellars Judgment in Paris winner in this week. There's also the 74, which is the 74 is a lot more reasonable and probably better wine in the long run. But anyway, and then Tesseron Estate, Pimray, there's multiple vintages of that, which I believe are at least $100 less than they cost from the winery. So yeah, there's 3 Sticks Magnums that were incredibly inexpensive. So William Sellium winemaker Cabral made those wines. Bob Cabral made those wines for years. Yeah, just a lot of very, very cool stuff. Jaffers, Syrah, there's Literai 1 Acre, there's a bunch of Screaming Eagle, there's Sandlands, like all sorts of ranges, all sorts of styles. Oh, there's even the old Pinot Noir from Shea Vineyard in Oregon from Sine Qua Non, the 01 number 6. So that's a super, super rare one. So yeah, lots of fun stuff from California.
Lots of really cool
Oregon and Washington.
Lots of really good stuff. And with that, we're going to wrap things up. All this stuff you can bid on until July 14th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pacific time when the auction closes. And as a little benefit to everyone listening, if you use the word judiciary, JUDICIARY, you'll get this week only, expiring on July 14th, you'll get $15 off your order of $150 or more. With WineBid's Finally Hammered, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.